Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. The ACC is once again a wide open conference in 2024. So wide open that it feels like every game is going to have a pretty big role in who plays for the ACC championship and maybe even who represents the conference in the new 12-team college football playoff. So today, guys, we're here to break down the top 5 games in the ACC this season. The 5 games that not only will be the most entertaining, but also the biggest when it comes to determining who wins the ACC. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, to comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks, the best college football spread picks in the entire country. You can get those over on our website. It's never too early to sign up because I can promise you, it's one of the best deals in the country that no other handicapper is going to give you, and we are beating out all the other handicappers as well. So check it out, the link for that down in the description below, as well as our mailing address to send us some of your team's gear. We've got some gear up here sent in by you guys, members of our GE Nation, but we'd love some more to represent your team in every single video. We'll give you that shout out. We'll represent the gear you send us, the mailing address down there below. Let's get ready because the season's going to be here before we know it. So you take a look at the ACC, guys. I mean, Florida State, obviously the reigning ACC champions. Louisville was the runner-up. Both of those teams expected to be contenders again. Clemson, always a contender in the ACC. You've got teams like Virginia Tech, Miami. You've got NC State, guys that maybe could make a big run in a wide-open conference again. SMU, one of the newcomers this year, is an elite contender. So many teams that really have a good case and a strong case to get to that title game, but how these top 5 games shape out will really determine what happens in the end. We'll come in at number 5. We'll break down the game starting from 5th all the way to 1st. Coming in at 5, we've got a great rivalry matchup, Florida State at Miami. That comes in Week 9 on October 26th. The quarterback battle of DJ Uiagalelei, the journeyman from Clemson to Oregon State, now to Florida State, facing another transfer quarterback in Cam Ward at Miami, who's receiving a lot of high praise, not just among Miami coaches, but among the Miami fans, and really from the national landscape as well. He might be the answer to Miami's offense and maybe getting the Hurricanes over the hump and to that next step and being an ACC title contender. This is a game that's pretty late in the year. I mean, right before November gets going. It could have major implications, not just on the conference, but maybe the playoff race if Florida State once again finds themselves in that discussion, or maybe Miami finds themselves there if they kind of start to figure things out. They do have a relatively tough schedule. Florida State, they've won 3 straight games in the series, but 2 of the last 3 have been decided by 1 possession, including just a 7-point victory last year. So can Miami get over the hump? Can they live up to the hype? Will Florida State be able to overcome them? A lot of stuff to talk about there. Going to be one of the better games in the conference this year. And typically every year, it's one of the more heated rivalries in college football, and to me, one of the more underrated ones as well. Coming in at number 4, we've got a Week 5 matchup on Friday night. A Friday night Week 5 matchup, Virginia Tech at Miami. So let's stay in Miami. These are 2 teams that are expecting to contend this year. These are 2 teams that are expecting to have big years this season. First off, we talked about Miami. Talk about Virginia Tech. I love Kyron Drones. I love what Virginia Tech is putting together. They returned so much production. They got hot towards the end of last year, won their bowl game over Tulane. It really peaked at the right time. And now with everything they've got coming back, this is one of those teams that isn't being talked about nearly enough on the national stage, but could surprise a lot of people this season. Miami has won 3 straight over the Hokies. They did not play last year. I really could see this game being a shootout, though. 2 great quarterbacks. Mobile quarterback at Virginia Tech, a gunslinger in Cam Ward at Miami. I really could see this game being just back and forth, maybe into the high 30s or 40s, somewhere around there. This is also a big one because it's a first conference game for both these teams. So it's earlier in the year, first conference game for both. It's really going to set the tone for both these programs as they head into the bulk of ACC play. Getting that first win under your belt is going to be massive. What's going to happen at Miami? It's going to be a really fun one to watch. Number 3. Week 4, September 21st, NC State at Clemson. That is the 3rd ranked game in the ACC this year for us. To me, I think this is very similar to the game we just mentioned with Virginia Tech and Miami. Very, very similar. It's the conference opener for both the Wolfpack and the Tigers. Both teams are going to be under a lot of pressure because they're going to be battle-tested. And they might not be battle-tested in the best way. Clemson, coming into this game, will have already played Georgia. NC State will have already played Tennessee. Both of those teams are projected to be underdogs in those games. So let's say Clemson does lose to Georgia, and let's say NC State does lose to Tennessee. We're not predicting that right now, but let's say it does. Both these teams will already have at least one loss on their schedule. Probably should only be one loss. But that means the loser of this game in Death Valley is going to walk away with 2 losses, more than likely. And that could really derail their season. You're going to start 0-1 in conference play. You're already going to have 2 losses on your resume. Both these teams do have college football playoff aspirations, especially with it expanding to 12 teams, but getting 2 losses within the first couple of weeks of the season is just not going to make that doable. It's not going to really make it possible to probably get in to the playoff unless they won out, which is a very, very difficult thing to do. So a lot is at stake between NC State and Clemson. These 2 teams have split the last 4 meetings. NC State did win 24-17 last year, but the Wolfpack have not won at Clemson since 2002. So that's a bit of a concern there. Clemson does own the home field advantage, which ultimately could be the difference maker in this game. Coming in at number 2, give me Florida State at SMU. And a lot of people, you might be tired of hearing me talk about SMU. You might think it's ridiculous to have this game, which does come in week 5 at the end of September. Ridiculous to have that as the second most important game in the ACC, but it is absolutely massive and a really intriguing storyline. The reigning ACC champions and the Florida State Seminoles, who went undefeated, won the conference, still missed out in the college football playoff though, taking on SMU on the road in the Mustangs' first conference game as an ACC member. Their first conference game is against the reigning champs. Talk about a welcome to the league type of moment. But the thing is, SMU can beat Florida State. They've got a great quarterback in Preston Stone. They've got the battle in the trenches, the offensive line and the defensive line to hang with Florida State. The defense was extremely underrated last season. They're going to have home field advantage. It's going to be rocking. So this is a game, guys, where if SMU pulls off the upset, we're going to start looking at the Mustangs as a legitimate ACC title contender because their schedule is really, really favorable after they take on Florida State. So if they win this game, you're looking at them as an ACC title contender, maybe a playoff contender. If Florida State wins this game, you go, whew, they got over one of their toughest obstacles of the season. There aren't too many left. It's still Florida State's conference until proven otherwise. So a lot at stake at the end of September when the Seminoles travel to Dallas to take on SMU. But our number one game in the ACC really shouldn't come as much of a surprise. It's been the 2 perennial ACC powers for nearly a decade now. Clemson at Florida State, Week 6, October 5th. So 1 week after Florida State has to travel to SMU, they get to host Clemson in one of the biggest games within the conference. The DJ Uiagalelei reunion game used to be the quarterback at Clemson, is now going to be the quarterback for Florida State as the Tigers travel to Tallahassee. You would argue that Clemson and Florida State are probably the top 2 contenders entering the ACC this year. When you look at title favorites, Florida State and Clemson are going to be probably at the top of that conversation. Yeah, Louisville's in there, maybe SMU's in there, but those are the 2 that you can typically bank on being legitimate contenders. 1 week after SMU for Florida State. Will they be hungover if they lose to the Mustangs? Will they be riding the high if they win a very hard-fought, grinded-out battle against the Mustangs? Florida State did snap a 7-game losing streak to Clemson last year, beating the Tigers 31-24 in overtime in Death Valley. Clemson, though, has won the last 3 on the road, has won the last 3 games against the Seminoles in Tallahassee, and certainly will have revenge on their mind. This Florida State team is nothing like the Florida State team we saw last year. Loses so much talent from that squad. Clemson can be said the same. They lose a lot of production, too. But at least they do maintain their quarterback in Cade Klubnik. So a lot riding on this game, guys. Beginning of October, 1 month under our belt, this is going to have a lot of stakes. A major conference loss that could play a huge role by the end of the season. A bit of a rivalry within the conference. Always a hard-fought battle. Last year's matchup was great. Hopefully this one can live up to the hype. But Clemson at Florida State, that is our most important and by far to us the biggest game of the year in the ACC. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. We're going to continue to plow through these top 5 games from each power conference. A lot more coming your way over these next couple weeks because we're getting closer and closer to prediction season, though. That's all the more reason to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com. That includes our mailing address to send us some of your team's gear. We don't have much ACC gear up here. We'd love to add some more. Send it our way, and we'll represent it in every single video. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.